Yes, so welcome everyone, and today we'll be taking up week 5 from the course on pain and suffering, and the theme is a surrender. So, before taking up the reading, I would request if anyone has anything that you want to share right now, or later is also welcome, as and when. So, if you want to share anything, ask. You're most welcome first. Okay, so I'm assuming there are no questions or remarks right now. So in that case, is it okay if we start with the document and then we can take up as and when whatever comes? Shall we start the document then?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. ठीक है, perfect. So let us read this first, the first paragraph, where there is a question that is Mother answering. How can we establish a settled peace and silence in the mind? Now, why is this important? All of us know um, how restless the being is. We have tasted our misery, we have tasted the suffering, we have tasted the impulses, going up and down, and we see that it's no fun being puppeted around. So one would love peace. Peace is somehow our inherent inclination is towards peace. We love traveling to places where we have felt peace. We love going to people where we feel peaceful. We love being in our own home or wherever we feel more peace and calm and silence. And although it appears that those places or external people and situations have the capacity to give us peace, but it's not so. It's not so. It is just like an appearance. What happens, I've also shared in the submission that you shared, the assignments that you have shared, that it seems in the moments of happiness and joy and peace that as if it is given from somebody or coming out of a situation where you are in. But is that true? What is exactly happening in that moment when I am with a person or in a situation or at a place, traveling place, where I feel peaceful? And if we really, really go close, we see that the resistance in the being is not there. It's like an openness, vast field of openness. And that is our true nature. So almost we get a glimpse of that true nature, true essence, in the absence of the clouding of the resistance. So let us see what Mother says about peace. All of us love peace and silence in the mind. So let's see. So who would like to read the first answer by the Mother?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, please, Bhaskar ji. Yeah, bilkul.
So, first of all, you must want it. And then you must try and must persevere. Continue trying. What I have just told you is a very good means. Yet, there are others also. You sit quietly to begin with, and then instead of thinking of 50 things, you begin saying to yourself, peace, 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 calm, peace. You imagine peace and calm. You aspire, ask that it may come, peace, peace, calm. And then, when something comes and touches you and acts, say quietly like this, peace, peace, peace. Do not look at the thoughts. Do not listen to the thoughts. You understand? You must not pay attention to everything that comes. You know when someone bothers you a great deal and you want to get rid of him, you don't listen to him, do you? Good. You turn your head away, gesture, and think of something else. Well, you must not do that. When thoughts come, you must not look at them, must not listen to them, must not pay any attention at all. You must behave as though they did not exist, you see, and then repeat all the time like a kind of, how shall I put it, as an idiot does, who repeats the same thing always. Well, you must do the same thing, same thing. You must repeat peace, peace, peace. So you try this for a few minutes and then do what you have to do. And then another time, you begin again, sit down again, then try. Do this on getting up in the morning, do this in the evening, and when going to bed. You can do this. Look, if you want to digest your food properly, you can do this for a few minutes before eating. You can't imagine how much this helps your digestion. Before beginning to eat, you sit quietly for a while and say, peace, 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 and everything becomes calm. It seems as though all the noises were going far, far, far away. And then you must continue. And there comes a time when you no longer need to sit down, and no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're saying, it is always peace, peace, peace. Everything remain here like this. It does not enter. It remains like this. And then one is always in a perfect peace after some years. But at the beginning, a very small beginning, 2 or 3 minutes, it is very simple. For something complicated, you must make an effort. And when one makes an effort, one is not quiet. It is difficult to make an effort while remaining quiet. Very simple, very simple. You must be very simple in these things. It is as though you were learning how to call a friend. By dint of being called, he comes. Well, make peace and calm your friends and call them. Come, peace, 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 come.
Yeah, beautiful. It's really amazing. It's almost we can just do this para and it is enough. We don't need to do anything further. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So it's very interesting. Mother says, do not look at the thoughts, do not listen to the thoughts, you understand. Whenever, uh, whatever bothers us, if we really look at it, it's me and my story, me and my story, me and my story. So it's all just the thoughts actually which are bothering. The real challenge is not a difficult one. I may have a challenge in life, but that is not that much of a difficulty. We love to go through challenges. The real challenge is what to do when these thoughts arise, because the thoughts arise. We see the thoughts. The thing is that we become so kind of used to thinking the thought and then getting entangled in the whole story, the mesh of the thought, that it almost seems impossible to get out of it. And if we really see it, it actually is just as if it's like a smoke. I'm getting entangled in a smoke, and then I'm making it so real, so real, so real, and a whole life is lived just in me and my story. And if one takes this as a mantra, do not look at the thoughts. So imagine that we are going through a day, and a feeling of something happens, and suddenly I observe anger or restlessness or this impulsion in the being, right? Now here is where we can try these things out. So the moment I see a story emerging in my head, I have seen it many times, but earlier I have been just buying into the story. Now I will see it rising in the head and I will say, I'm going to do nothing about it. Let it be, let it be. And you go through and attend to the challenge, whatever is the challenge, whatever is the situation. And then it is not much of a bother, then it's not much of a difficulty. A cup may fall and the whole substance in the cup may spill out. And uh, so two ways can be taken how to do about the fallen cup and the material which has spread over. One is that I just go, I recognize that, yeah, the cup has fallen, and I clean or take help for cleaning or whatever. Done, finish. And the other is that I get into the story, who kept it there, and this is not the place to keep it there. Obviously I can still tell the person or whoever has kept it, but when I go into the story, then I drain my energy being in the story. While otherwise, the challenge itself is not a big deal. So, would we like to do that? And why should we do that? Again, because uh, I want my peace at any cost. At any cost, I just want to take care of my peace. So, I don't want to get indulged in the story. Why? Because I love my peace more than the story. Earlier, the story was getting on and on and on in a default mode. Now I have suffered enough owing to the story. And that's why this sankalpa almost comes in the being, that enough of the story. I have tasted that also. And I would not like to go there again because it is a never ending game. It is a never ending mesh. And I don't want to bargain my peace for that. So this is how one comes to this realization. And when mother says, do not look at thoughts, this is how we become capable of not looking at thoughts. Because we have tasted enough, haven't we? All of us are old enough or young enough to know that there is no end to the loop of stories and thoughts. So what would you do now? What would we, like to experiment with now? And then mother says, well, you must do that. When thoughts come, you must not look at them as if they're not even there. Go about the challenge in your own way, whatever feels right. You must not listen to them. Now, again, one has to be very, very careful here because in the beginning, it may happen that I'm seeing the story rising up, right? Uh, and I'm also saying to myself, oh my God, I must not look at the thoughts. So this effort need not be there. Because the more I say that I must not look at it, I'm making it real. Imagine that there is a imagined ghost in the room. The more I become scared of the ghost, the more I am fueling that yes, the ghost is there and I must be afraid of it. So I just ignore the ghost. I just stop believing in the story at all. And we only become capable of this step after we have suffered enough the misery of the thoughts and the story and all that. Only then we become capable. Kabir says, दौड़त दौड़त दौड़िया जहां लगी मन की दौड़ थके मन स्थिर भया. दौड़ के थकने से पहले मन स्थिर नहीं भया. मन कब स्थिर भया? जब खूब दौड़ लिए. I have really ran enough in the loop and mesh of the thoughts, and now I am realizing it's actually futile. Okay, let's now come back to business. Peace. You must behave as though they do not exist. They did not exist. Now we will see that all these years, it is me who has been actually fueling the story. Because the moment I ignore the story, it has no power, no grip at all. This is the beauty. And suddenly I realize that I make or break my life. How? Like this, I fuel my story or I stop the fuel. So I am the one who is making an imaginary monster a monster. And I am the one who is just, knowing that now it is not needed and the monster almost disappears like a smoke. It is not even there. It was never there. My fueling was making it real. It almost appears very surreal. Really, the story wasn't there? Yes, the story wasn't there. And this is ultimate liberation. This is true liberation. And we realize that all these years, I have been trapping myself. No one else has the capacity to trap me or suffocate me. I am the one, like a cage I build, around myself. And if I can build it, I can also break it. And what is the breaking? Breaking is not an active process. Breaking is just stopping of the fuel to the story. And then mother says that, like an idiot, then repeat, peace, peace, peace. Now I think yes, Yasho, you want to ask something?
Monica, so even if the thoughts one says no to them,
Yeah,
the physical unease,
yeah,
it persists. And
persist.
yeah, what you said was go into it, meet it, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
understand that, but that unease is really uneasy. So it feels at times really terrible, despite the fact that I'm not thinking the thoughts, but I feel it in my body.
bilkul,
So yeah,
bilkul.
how,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So how long, if I may ask, how long have you practiced staying with the unease
uh
in any
Consciously, I
one
would
case?
say the last 2 3 months.
Okay. So imagine that
I
unease
Sorry, your
comes.
voice is breaking.
Okay. So
Would you
imagine
repeat
that,
that?
yes, I was saying that imagine that unease comes at one moment in a day,
Yeah.
and you just stay with the physical discomfort or physical
Mm,
unease, right? So I
mm.
would request you to do it again, very kind of consciously, whenever unease arises, the physical discomfort arises. And again, not going into the story, just meeting the unease and discomfort. Because I am almost dead sure that if you stay with the unease for a longer duration of time, the unease dissipates into peace. And if you
Okay.
say that the unease is still there, maybe that thread of staying with the unease got disrupted by again going into the loop of thoughts. It may have happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So whenever you try it again, just stay as long as needed with the unease. Imagine that there is a child who wants to come to you. Huh? That child is a little cranky. And what you do is you just call the child into your lap and you don't say anything. You just stay with that child for as long as the child wants to be in your lap. And then after maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it may be 1 hour, uh, the child has had his, kind of bite of peace or whatever he wanted. And then he just runs away. He does not need the lap anymore. So it's almost like that. It's almost very similar, identical to this, that whenever physical discomfort comes along with the restlessness, I see that yes, there is a story to it also, but I will not go to the story. I will stay with the physical discomfort for as much as needed. And you will see that it is not a possibility that the physical discomfort does not dissipate into a neutral feeling. So yeah, just experiment more, I would say, with it. Yeah, so we were talking about this madness of calling peace. Now, this madness is not a very active madness. Peace, peace, peace. Why aren't you coming to me? Come. It's almost yeah, most welcome, Yashu. So it's almost a very subtle calling. It's like that there is something, some movement in the being. You notice it, and you know that it is not needed. You don't need that movement actually. So it is a disturbing kind of a movement in the sense that um, you can be also without it. It is of almost of no use. and you know that peace is where you feel yourself, right? So what you say is you call peace, because you are not getting the resolution for the challenge in your mental conceptions. Whenever a challenge or confusion is there in life, huh? Either a relationship challenge or other issues, most of the times what we do is we try to resolve them in the mind. कहीं ना कहीं उसका कुछ मिल जाए मुझे माइंड में, थॉट के थ्रू कुछ मिल जाए. Very rarely do we find a ultimate resolution through the mind. And I see that, yes, in the middle of all the unresolved conflicts, I can dip into a state of peace. I can call peace in the body and in the being, in the mental domain also. And then whatever action is rising, it may be a stern action that you have to take. You may have to tell to a person that, this is almost done. I can't tolerate the abuse or whatever. So it may be a stern action, it may be a firm action that you have to take, but it will not be coming out of misery. It will be coming out of the silence of the being, and hence it would be a right action. So this calling of peace actually appears in the beginning like a theory. To me, at least, it appeared like a theory. But unless I had a chance to practice it, I was going through really I would say emotionally such a challenging phase that one would not know what to do. So much of mess and so much of emotions going up and down. And it is there, these moments almost become a blessing, because these give you a chance or an opportunity so that you can tap into this ever present peace. Otherwise, when things are normal, hunky dory, going okay, 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 you don't feel the need to tap into this eternal peace at all. But only when suffering is at its peak do we make suffering a dagger and go inside the being and touch this peace. So this calling of a peace, how mother is sharing, it's almost like as if it is coming from the higher levels. Almost feels like that. And it also feels that you're opening yourself to this peace. The peace is ever present, grace is ever present. Now I am in such a state, such a bad state, the ego is so shattered and broken. Only now the being becomes receptive, ki ha, I need help and please bring me some peace, and the peace is granted. So it's almost like a madness, as mother says, like an idiot does. Peace, I don't want anything, I don't want any resolution, just peace and nothing else. And slowly the whole being is full of that peace. And when one does it while sleeping, before sleeping actually, before going to bed, you are just lying down half awake, not yet asleep. uh, you know uh, Try to do this will really calm the whole field of thought and the emotions up and down. It just calms the whole being. And how I kind of did it or do it is that I used to remember the silence of whatever I felt, that I clearly remember that peace and stillness. For example, I remembered when I went to Pondicherry and visited the Samadhi for the first time. There was an absolute kind of an overpowering stillness in that space. And when I called peace, or when I call peace now, I remember that silence in the whole being, in the whole body, the mental domain, wherever in the cells of the being. And it works. And it works. You would know for yourself that it is working. And when sleeping in that state, you will see the quality of the sleep also changes, makes, when you are getting up, whenever you are getting up, you're lighter. And it's not that the mind is running in a default mode, still thinking about the past and all that. Past seems far, far away, as if it, I don't know when it happened. Right? So that's a blessing. That's something which is a byproduct of this peace. As mother shares, here it seems as though all the noises were going far, far away. That is the power that peace has. And there comes a time when you no longer even need to sit down. One can absolutely do it while walking and doing day to day chores. Whenever you feel a ripple, peace. You feel a ripple, peace. And it does not mean that you will be passive, you will not be taking actions. All the actions will be taken, and they'll be just coming from a right space, you would know. Yeah. And in the last one, mother shares that it is not something complicated where you have to put an active effort. Oh, peace, peace, come. Why are you not coming? Just like that. There is no active impulsion needed. It's a very subtle effort, very subtle. And you know that the peace has dawned. You know that it has come. Very simple. And mother is sharing you must be very, very simple in these things. Not very agitated to call peace. Because that would again lead to more agitation. Oh, peace, come, come, why are you not coming? That is increasing the agitation instead of calling peace. So yeah, one has to be really delicate. Yeah. Yeah. So anything here so far?
So, would it be also okay? I mean, does that help that you keep yourself busy? I mean, you get involved in things which would keep those thoughts away
um
and which would seem like more
yeah, yeah.
activities which give you kind of हैप्पीनेस अंदर वाली जो
Yes,
खुशी
yes, I
होती है
understand. हाँ,
उन
हाँ, बिल्कुल,
एक्टिविटीज में इन्वॉल्व करो और थॉट्स को फिर ब्लॉक हो जाते हैं इन अ वे बिकॉज आप उस एक्टिविटी में इतना इन्वॉल्व हो जाते हो
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल.
मे बी
So
दैट
I think one can obviously do that, but then the peace should not be dependent that whenever I am engaged in an activity, only then I feel peaceful. Otherwise, thoughts come and play havoc in my body. So that dependency slowly can be shed off, and you obviously can involve yourself in everything that makes you feel more at home. But then, even without that
लाइक फॉर
activity,
एग्जांपल इवन रीडिंग और लिसनिंग
yes,
यू
definitely.
नो तो आप
Yeah,
अपने दिन में जितना टाइम उन और चीजों को ऐसी चीजों को जिनसे आपको you can keep those thoughts away and a bit gets more clarity and
बिल्कुल.
kind of a light.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree when you say that कि ऐसा ना हो कि वो नहीं हो तो वापस आप आओ तो डिस्टर्ब हो जाओ.
हाँ, हाँ, हाँ. But that is a
Mhm.
part of a process, and I'm sure
Yeah, that's what
involving
I wanted
oneself.
to know.
Yes, yes, involving yourself in reading, listening, or doing any activity that makes you more peaceful. I'm sure that is part of a process, and it must be inculcated in a day-to-day life. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because as the other thing that helps me is going for a nature walk,
Yes, yes.
and I
Well,
can do it like as many times in the day. Okay,
beautiful.
and
Yeah.
one more just small observation.
Yes.
When I lie down and I do this piece and all, पता नहीं मुझे शायद आदत है इंग्लिश में नहीं बोलती हूँ मैं हमको हिंदी में शांति
Yeah, yeah,
शांति
yeah.
बोलने से दूसरी
Yes,
वाइब्रेशंस आती हैं
yes, yes, yes.
so I mean in Hindi that was just I was just wondering that पीस बोलने से भी आती होगी शायद बट हमें माँ या शांति या ओम तो वो वाइब्रेशंस फील होती हैं
Yeah, I think whatever works for you. Peace is
या
peace, by whatever name you may call it. Peace is peace. Yeah. My using a different name for peace would not change the quality of what I am calling. The quality is only one. There is no doubt about that. So yeah, use anything that works for you. Okay. Yes, so let's go through this little paragraph of aspiration, rejection, and surrender. Maybe we can touch upon these aspects. For those of us who are not in touch, I'm sure all of you have been touching with these words at least. And yeah, let's shortly take up this paragraph then. Yeah. Who would like to read?
सॉरी आई कांट सी एनीथिंग ऑन द स्क्रीन सो
अच्छा, तो आप
just
सेकेंड
thinking
पैराग्राफ पढ़ो. द एफर्ट डिमांडेड ऑफ द साधक.
okay 1 second Okay, that one, the effort demanded wala pura sadhana tak. ठीक
Yeah.
है. The effort demanded of the sadhak is that of aspiration, rejection, and surrender. If these three are done, the rest is to come of itself by the grace of the mother and the working of her force in you. But of the three, the most important is surrender, of which the first necessary form is trust and confidence and patience in difficulty. There is no rule that trust and confidence can only remain if aspiration is there. On the contrary, when even aspiration is not there because of the pressure of inertia, trust and confidence and patience can remain. If trust and patience fail when aspiration is quiescent, that would mean that the sadhak is relying solely on his own effort. It would mean, oh, my aspiration has failed, so there is no hope for me. My aspiration fails, so what can mother do? On the contrary, the sadhak should feel, never mind, my aspiration will come back again. Meanwhile, I know that the mother is with me even when I do not feel her. She will carry me even through the darkest period. That is the fully right attitude you must have. To those who have depression can do nothing. Even if it comes, it has to return baffled. That is not tamasic surrender. Tamasic surrender is when one says, I won't do anything, let mother do everything. Aspiration, rejection, surrender, even are not necessary. Let her do all that in me. There is a great difference between the two attitudes. One is that of a shirker who would do anything, the other is that of the sadhak who does his best, but when he is reduced to quiescence of a time and things are adverse, keeps always his trust in the mother's force and presence behind all, and by that trust baffles the opposition force and calls back the activity of the sadhana.
Yeah. What all we need, because according to our swabhavas, we have different vital energy, different enthusiasm, maybe sometimes more tamas and sometimes less. One thing which I've seen, which really as is also indicated here, a streak of faith, just a streak of faith. It's not even a full blown faith that one needs. Here, that never mind, my aspiration will come back again. This certitude almost that it is not a possibility that I am walking this path alone. So, Mother says that this is the right attitude. So, we have actually to come out of our stories, that I am unworthy, I am not enough, I am not deserving enough. This is all stories in the head and nothing else. Even when I see that, yes, I can do it, I am good enough, even those stories almost are not needed at all. Just a streak of faith that, yes, all will be well. It is not well right now. Yes, there is a lot of disturbance, but time is there and time changes everything. And I will be shown the way. Just like I have been shown this path, I'll be shown the way ahead. So, this streak, little streak of faith, now you have no idea how the path will be shown. You are not even asking how the path will be shown. There is no eagerness, but the streak helps. So, this is almost a right attitude that Mother shares, that, it can make one go through the darkest of challenges. And then in the first line is we see these words: the effort demanded of the sadhak is that of aspiration, rejection, and surrender. So, what is aspiration? Aspiration, I'm sure all of you have read and heard about aspiration. So, if anyone would like to first share what, according to you so far, what do you mean, understand by aspiration? It would be nice. Yeah, any understanding so far that you have of aspiration? Okay, so I'm assuming that you know a bit, but you don't want to share, and that is okay. So, aspiration is what we say in Hindi, almost like a chaha, or I think the proper word would be mumuksha, if I'm not wrong. So, it's almost like a willingness now to find the truth of your being. You know, half of our life is lived in a kind of an ignorance, really dark ignorance. And then slowly, as we become aware of our suffering, then only a willingness rises in the being that, yes, I want to do something about it. Because I see that something is wrong, something is missing. And there the aspiration rises to progress and to move beyond our obstacles and our past and move into the future. So, this is a willingness to go further, a willingness to progress. And this willingness is coming from the depths of our being, because willingness to progress is our nature. Progression is our nature. Stagnancy is not our nature, and that is why depression sucks, because one feels really suffocated. One is not happy in it's not a happy depression, because it's not our true nature. So aspiration is this willingness now to let go of my past and the stories and all that keeps me holding back, and a willingness to go further, progress, move, evolve. Then rejection. What is rejection? Rejection would be just like we were reading in the first paragraph. Now I say thoughts, I'm sorry, babe, I'm not going to get involved in you. Right? So this is rejection. Because you know that if you go there, it is a never ending trap and you will again end up losing and bargaining your peace for something which is not even worth it. Right? Because those stories and blames and games have no end in them. So that is rejection. Rejection of whatever makes you feel uneasy and unsettles your peace. You just say no to it. Even if that is coming from the bestest of your family, relatives, friends, and all that, you just say no. I can't take it. So there is also an external rejection, plus there is this internal rejection of thoughts and whatever, troubles. It's thoughts only that trouble. So you say, no, I am not going to go there. I completely reject it. So that is rejection. And that is just one part that I am touching. The whole chapter is with you. You can read. And surrender. Now, surrender is a word which is actually very delicate word. Um, we've often heard people saying that, surrender, हाँ वो तो मैंने कर लिया. I have done that long ago. And it's almost like fooling oneself, because we see that surrender is a continuous moving process. It is not an end in itself, like हो गया surrender, अब आगे बढ़ो, आगे की बात करो. Surrender can never be complete. It can just go on completing itself, because there are so many innumerable parts of my being that are yet not surrendered. I'm not even aware of those parts and they are ruling me. So how can I ever say that I have surrendered? It is almost a blasphemy. One need not say that. It is just that to be on the path of surrender, more and more and more and more, as and when one becomes aware, increasing surrender, one just is happy, contented. This is a right place to be. And why surrender? Why does surrender comes into picture at the very first place? Now, the whole creation, the pure consciousness that the creation is manifesting from, that is always surrendered. The truth of my being, the psychic being, is always surrendered. So, what is it that needs to surrender? It's the separate sense of self which rules our lives, the ego. From the space of the ocean, everything is ocean itself. But when a wave has become a wave and wants to kind of identify that I am something else from the ocean and I need to protect myself, that wave now needs to surrender back itself into the ocean. So almost it seems like again a word of play of game, a play of words. Why? Because if you really go close, surrender, even the wave was never separate from the ocean. The wave is water, the ocean is water. They're all one. But the thing is that the wave does not think that it is one. This is the whole game. This is the ignorance, the veil of ignorance. That the wave is still one with the ocean. It is not separate from the ocean because all that is the ocean. But the wave identifies so strongly with the concept of being a wave that it gets troubled and troubled and troubled, walks in misery all its life. So from the point of view of this separate wave, now this wave has to fall back and know itself as the ocean. So this is what surrender is. It's from the point of the ego. And the sense of ego is ingrained in my physical body. It is ingrained everywhere. Each and every part of the being is drenched with the sense of ego, just like each and every part of the being is also drenched with the truth of the being. It is not separate. Right? So this is what surrender is. The wave recognizing that it was always a part of ocean and it was just a thought that it was away from it. So this is, like coming back home again and again. And when sees that there is no other place than home, than the ocean. So as if that dream did not even happen, it was just a dream. It was a figment of my imagination that I began to think that I am separate. I lived a whole life as a separate entity and now I am suffering, and therefore the need to know that I am not separate from the ocean. Thank you. So this is, I'm just kind of, elaborating it in words which can be, practical for our understanding, and I'm sure there would be many layers of meaning or interpretations to this. Yeah. Yes, that's it on aspiration, rejection, and surrender. So, yeah, then we already talked about this streak of faith, trust and confidence and patience, this. And once we have this streak of faith, we see that each and every challenge is actually a very beautiful opportunity for me to learn something about myself, and grow from that opportunity. It may be a disease, illness, a broken relationship, a broken marriage, anything. Talk of anything ugly. Talk of anything ugly, and that ugliness is just hiding something really beautiful in it. And that's where the dualities dissolve. Then I will not be fearing the ugliness anymore in my life. Ugly is also beautiful. So the dualities come together, they merge into each other. Yeah. And then again, as we go on this path, and many a times one may feel that, oh my God, I'm not progressing. This doubts may come that I'm not progressing, and something okay, and am I doing it right? And there, forever, even Sri Aurobindo always says this, that everything rest comes by the grace of the mother. So have complete faith, certitude, at least begin with the streak of faith, and just keep the effort is here: aspiration, rejection, and surrender. Keep on rejecting everything that bargains your peace. And slowly the peace will be so strong and powerful, then the rejections would not be needed then. Then one will be able to even go close to those people or situations which earlier used to kind of bargain, disturb your peace. But in the beginning, almost like when we plant a sapling, one has to make a boundary or a fence around it. So it's almost like that one needs to take care and of the piece that is developing, and once it is full blown and more, then it has so much of power that things which will kind of want to hurt that piece or that area, they'll already stay away from that space. They'll not dare do anything or come close with any bad intentions. Yeah. Yeah. So anything here on this paragraph? Okay. Okay. So then we have this little paragraph on remember and offer. Now, okay. Then I think I would also like to go through these little lines, a few lines at least, if not all the lines, a little some of it. Difficulties of surrender and surrender. So remember and offer. So would anybody of you would have an idea of what is remembering and offering? Would you want to share? How do we practice remember and offer?
Perhaps at each moment, whether whatever one is going through, remember that there is a greater presence behind everything, and offering whatever one is feeling. So even if it may not be very conducive to the yoga that we want to practice, but offer it. That's what I've been doing. That yeah, I have this thought, and Mother, this is me right now, and I'm an open book to you.
Beautiful. So when you say that you tell it to the mother inside inwardly, that you say that mother, this is the thought that is troubling or whatever, and I offer it to you. So what happens next, if I may ask?
So that the guilt goes. So the feeling of it shouldn't be here, it goes. Yeah.
Thank you. So offering and remembering, those of us who are with the mother, it's almost quite easy to tell them or explain it to them. But I also use this for example, there are people who are not in touch with the mother. They do not have that connection with mother, so that they would remember and offer. And then there I realized that when there is something that I'm troubled with and it is coming again and again, it's like a repeated pattern of thoughts or loop of thoughts that comes to me, that disturbs me. And so far I have been entertaining them. So far I have been thinking out them and getting entangled and then suffering later on. Now what I begin to do is that the moment the whole thing begins to rise, I notice it, and I do not do anything about it. Almost what we read earlier, do not pay attention to the thoughts. You know that they are there. You know they are coming again, but you don't do anything about them. And again, you suck the fuel out of that story. You don't make it into a hot air balloon. So this is what we call as meeting the thing completely. So for example, if there is restlessness in the being, I will stay with the physical restlessness, the raw sensation of the restlessness or the discomfort, but I will not go into the story anymore. So this is when I actually practiced both, I realized they are both one and the same. What happens when I say remember and offer, when mother says remember and offer? A pattern comes to me. I know it takes away my peace whenever it comes. I say to myself, I'm not going to indulge it. And owing to the helplessness I feel in that situation, I tell the mother, Mother, this has come again. I offer it to you. So again, you ignore it. You don't think the story out. You don't think the loop of thoughts out again. And you are there with the raw sensation in the body of whatever residue is there. And it is not that bigger discomfort. You can stay with that mild trouble in the body for some time. It's not that big a deal. What makes it bigger deal is the thing that we do with the head, the abuse of the mind almost. So this is what we call remember and offer. So whenever something troubling is coming again, and I am talking about just the troubling part because usually the happy part does not trouble us, right? Obviously,
If
whenever
I
we,
may just ask one
yeah,
second,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
कि ये हम बार बार माइंड को क्यों कट कर रहे हैं, मतलब जस्ट यू नो
हाँ
क्योंकि
हाँ
हमने उसको किसी और तरह से प्रोग्राम किया हुआ है, हम उसको अनप्रोग्राम कर रहे हैं,
हाँ, सो माइंड को हम कट नहीं कर रहे.
रीप्रोग्राम.
You can say almost that. Yes. So it is like a bad tendency has been following for a long time, you know, and it has not been serving us well. Had it been serving us well, we would not even have questioned it. So we see that the old habit of the mind to remain in the loop of the story has not been serving me well. And that's why the mind still, obviously, the mind will remain. We cannot cut the mind. It is not possible. We are just seeing that that old habit now does not have the grip over me so that it just takes away my peace. It's as if the mind was running in a default mode for so many years, and now I'm beginning to almost have a mastery over the mind because I call that it's my mind. That is what we say, right? It is my mind, it is my emotions. And even then, I have no power over it. It is puppeting me around. So that is what we are doing. You can say reprogramming also. Yeah. And the true nature of the mind is rest. A baffled mind is a friend to no one. And a baffled, just as a baffled child wants rest, so a baffled mind also wants rest. So we are actually bringing it home. We are bringing the mind home. This is again another way of saying it. Yeah. Yeah. So that was remember and offer.
Monica, what is consecrate and how is it different from offering?
So offering and consecrate.
Yeah.
Where is that? Would you share it here? What is the
No,
context?
no, it's not. It's not. But
Acha.
yeah.
Okay. So I think offering is a small step, a beginning step towards a complete consecration. You know? So consecration would be a fuller like if what how I see is that offering is a drop or a baby step, and consecration is when it grows and grows and grows. You know, consecration is almost, you know, we start with saying that mother, I offer this movement to you, mother, I offer this food to you, whatever, you know, we start by doing that. That is our baby step. And consecration is when that offering has taken a bigger kind of, you know, it has taken up a bigger part of my being. Now the life is not me anymore, it's a life lived for the truth. So that would what I would mean. That's my, again, you know, one layer of interpretation. That would what I would say consecration is. Like it's a movement towards total and complete surrender. So not living for the ego anymore and offering just one movement here and there. The whole being is now given to the divine. Now when we say the whole being is given to the divine, again there is a catch. The wave cannot be given to the ocean. The wave is the ocean. But from the point of view of a separate wave, it has to be given. Why? Because it was thinking that it is not given. And that is how it has been living. So again, this consecration also is from the part of all the ego lived domains in us, which are now saying that, okay, now I want to live with the truth for the truth and not in falsehood. Yeah. So let us go through these little snippets, if I can say. Surrender. First, we'll read surrender, and then we'll say read a few lines on difficulties of surrender. What are the difficulties and challenges on the path? Yeah, surrender. So, who would like to read up maybe a few bit from here? Yeah. Yes.
May I?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Surrender. The decision to hand over the responsibility of your life to the divine. This is done either through the mind or the emotion or the life impulse or through all of them together. To surrender to the divine is to renounce your narrow limits and let yourself be invaded by it and made a center for its play. If you are truly surrendered to the divine in the right manner and totally, then at every moment you will be what you ought to be. You will do what you ought to do. You will know what you ought to know. But for that, you should have transcended all the limitations of the ego. But for that, true surrender enlarges you, it increases your capacity, it gives you a great measure in quality and in quantity, which you could not have had yourself.
Yeah. Yes. So, as Yashu was sharing in the beginning, like remembering that there is something higher than this limited self, right? Knowing that there is a larger, bigger intelligence or a higher power in charge of all what is happening. So, surrender is the decision to hand over the responsibility of your life to the divine. Now, again, as Mother was sharing a few passages above, that the tamasic surrender is that I won't do anything, it's the divine, let him do everything, right? So, that is not what surrender is. That is tamas. तमस में appear like surrender कि मैंने तो दे दिया सब भगवान को अब तो वो ही जाने but you still get up and make yourself a cup of tea. So why did you get up at all to make that cup of tea? Because then जब बाकी सब भगवान ने करना है तो ये भी भगवान ही कर लेता है, इसके लिए हाथ पैर क्यों हिलाए? So that's our hypocrisy. And yeah, so Mother says that this is done either through the mind or the emotion or the life impulse or through all of them together. So it can begin at any level. It can begin with the mental idea of surrender, and that is okay. That is completely fine. That mentally one is preparing oneself. One has lived enough for the me and my story for the separate entity called ego, not even entity, figment of imagination called ego. And then one says that, okay, enough is enough, and now I want to live a different life. So it may begin with a mental conception, and then one, when starts to travel this path, one sees that yes, there are many difficulties. What are those difficulties? One sees that one still wants the thing my own way. मेरे हिसाब से होना चाहिए, और वो अगर नहीं हो रहा तो गड़बड़ हो रही है, मूड स्विंग्स हो रहे हैं. So this is where we get to know there is nothing wrong about mood swings. This is where we get an opportunity to know that the surrender is still required. More and more is required. Again, I don't know what is the best in this situation, right? Maybe what is happening is the best in this situation. It's good that the things did not happen my way, right? So this is what increasing surrender is: a full openness to whatever is presented by the life. So dissolution of all the resistance that I carry, that things are not how they should be. This is a big resistance, a wall of resistance. Ego feeds on this wall. Ego is the wall. मेरे हिसाब से क्यों नहीं हो रहा? This is not how I had imagined life to be. How can it be? How can it be? Turn it my way, turn it my way. So whatever life is presenting to me right now, I am becoming a wall, and dissolution of this wall and becoming open to and receptive to whatever is presented in life is a right attitude, is the surrender. Okay, let us see now how things can progress. Okay, this is the situation, very factually. Let us see what I need to know about myself, or maybe the other person, or whatever. So there is a complete openness to the life situation. And why this is so beautiful? This is so beautiful because openness is our true nature. Wherever we have felt open in our life, it has been beautiful, right? Why beautiful? Because it comes together. It's a bunch. Satyam Shivam Sundaram. What is truth is beautiful, and it's Shiv, and it's beautiful. That openness that we feel. No one hates openness, right? One may be having a fear or phobia of white spaces. That's a different thing. But no one hates openness. Everyone loves openness. We all love people who are welcoming in nature. Why? Because they have this wideness about them, vastness about them. So that is what surrender does. It's like a byproduct of surrendering the limited sense of self. And in the next one, here Mother says, or maybe it may be Sri Aurobindo actually, the to surrender to the divine is to renounce your narrow limits. Now the wave is saying, yes, enough of being a separate wave. I want to merge back into the ocean and then maybe rise again. And I know that I am not separate from the ocean. So the wave is still a wave. The wave still rises again in the ocean, but now it has a knowing that it is not a limited entity called a wave. It is the ocean itself. It is the movement of the ocean. This knowing does all the magic. Earlier also it was the wave, but as if it was in ignorance about who it is. It was seeing itself separate from the ocean, just like we feel separate from the divine. And it brings misery, right? So to surrender to the divine is to renounce your narrow limits, the limits of the mind, me, my story, the head. I know what is the best and all that. And let yourself be invaded by it and made a center for its play. Now the Leela is happening. Earlier it was Maya, I was trapped in illusion. The illusion of me being a separate wave, away from the ocean, the vast ocean. And now just this turning away into my own knowing that, hey, I was always the ocean. There was nothing to me than the ocean. The wave is freed of the ignorance and is freed of the narrow limits also, imaginary limits. We think ourselves just to be this body. This is one of the limits. But the pure consciousness that we are, it is not dependent on the physical limits. We may have a body, that's a different deal altogether. But who I am is not only this physical aspect. There is much, much, much more to you, to each one of us. Sitting here, wherever you are sitting right now, you may be in a separate place, but aren't you aware of, for example, don't you feel that you are almost in touch with the whole universe? You are aware of the whole universe right now, sitting in your separate room. That awareness can go into a friend's house. That awareness is aware of, and also, it does not depend on objects only, that I need to be aware of something. It just is. It is aware, self-aware. So we are so wide that we don't even know. Mother and Sri Aurobindo at many places tell us that we don't even know who we are. We don't even know our truth and wideness. And what we do is just live a life in this narrow, limited awareness or consciousness. So that is what surrender is. Surrender is actually reclaiming your own birthright. It is my own birthright, uh, that this wideness and vastness of the being. It is my birthright because that is what I truly am. And surrender is also can be called as, now I stop being the enemy of myself, so that I let myself blossom, flower, and shed away all the veils of ignorance and blossom into this vastness. So I stop being my own enemy. And of course, ignorance has its purpose. But once I am ready to move away from ignorance, now shed the veils off, then I must progress towards the dawn, and not keep on veiling uh, in the layers of ignorance. And no one can do that actually. Once you know that the era of ignorance is over, at least a few layers of ignorance is over, you cannot stop yourself but to move ahead. And it has done its job. It has prepared you so far. So it is not that it was there without any reason. But now there is almost, it's a stupidity to keep on holding on to it. Right? So that's what it is, to renounce your narrow limits and let yourself be invaded by that Leela.
Monica, here, what is meant by life impulse?
Life impulse is this vital enthusiasm, the vital that Sri Aurobindo and Mother call as vital, the life force that drives you.
This is not the emotion, right?
Or so emotion is also originating from life impulse only. There is a force behind the motion, right? Emotion has a force with it. So it is one with the life impulse also. It's like entangled together. But only the life impulse is not the emotion. So life impulse is this movement of life that wants to go and go and go and move ahead and progress. And emotion is a part, like a, if one can say, it's like a, it's like manifesting out of that life impulse, because it has energy, it has vigor to it. Yeah. So life impulse in this context specifically would also refer to, why on earth am I actually alive? What is the need to live at all? And that's why when we suffer, or when when we are really going through depressive phases, one can commit suicide. Why? Because the life impulse is not there anymore. I feel that why should I live this life at all when it is such a misery? So the intention is actually very true, because our nature is not misery and there is enough of misery. But ending of the life is not the end of misery. So the intention may be true, but the action is not in accordance. So the soul decides that, okay, let me just maybe, take another birth, and because this game is not happening, this game is not happening, something like that. And I'm sure there is a vast amount of literature on that domain also. Yeah. So now in this case, the first two lines, the life impulse is given to the divine, that I live only for you and not for the separate entity that I was living for. Yeah. Yeah. So in the next one, if you're truly surrendered
I
to the
just want to again, just one thought keeps. There are a lot of people who don't know if there is a divine and they don't believe in. I mean, like, so
yeah,
henceforth they're not able to believe.
yeah, yeah,
But so basically, they don't surrender as such in that term. But they are also quite okay in their lives the way they are.
yes. So what is your
Because a lot of
question?
young, So I see a lot of this younger generation, like for example, my son, he also must be having whatever his little bit of emotions and little sufferings and breakups when जब होते हैं इनके जो भी होता है तो ये लोग तो डिवाइन में बिलीव करते नहीं है इनको तो they don't know this but they just know कि we don't know there is something going on.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल totally, yeah,
So
yeah,
they all also go through some kind of a suffering and they cope and they look quite okay from
yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. That's
I look at
okay.
myself and I say, why do I go through so much suffering?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So as we
I
were
mean, and
discussing,
there are ladies also of my generation who say हमें नहीं पता भगवान है कि नहीं. And
yeah,
they seem quite okay when I look at them. मैंने उनको अंदर से भी थोड़ा देखा है उनकी family life में भी. They just live their lives, पूरा दिन निकल जाता है and अपनी duties करते रहते हैं and they are okay.
hmm, hmm, yeah,
They don't feel the need. They say काश हम कह सकते कि हाँ भगवान करेगा, but हमें नहीं पता भगवान क्या होता है.
that's perfectly fine, perfectly fine.
And they also go through suffering. I don't know how they cope, but
Yes, 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 yeah. So if you, Preeti, if you look at it, actually, we don't need to use the word divine at all. All this can be discussed even without the word divine. So, for example, what we discussed, remember and offer. Now, I told you that it can be done even without with people who are not even knowing the mother or the divine in any form, right? It doesn't matter at all. And it is just that people, it's like, it's the variety that has been granted in this Leela. The variety is that there would be some which would be completely non-believers and that is completely fine. उनके believe या believe नहीं करने से कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. An ocean is an ocean even when the wave does not believe that it is an ocean. Even when there is
no,
no.
मगर कुछ तो चाहिए to hold on to something, some form, some name. I don't know, like when I was working in the ashram, I couldn't connect with the mother. मैं वहाँ पे सारा काम करती थी. I was a very sincere volunteer and very nice, everything good. But मैं जैसे लोग वहाँ बोलते थे ना मदर देख लेंगी, मैं उस तरह से समझ नहीं पाती थी ये क्या कह रहे हैं. मैं उस तरह से कनेक्ट नहीं हुआ था. अब देखो इतने सालों बाद इतनी दूर बैठी हूँ मैं and
Yeah,
now एक कनेक्ट बैठा है.
yeah.
So like now I can talk to her. I feel I can like kind of surrender तो नहीं कहूँगी but हाँ that attempt is there. बट पहले मुझे नहीं था. पहले हमें पता ही नहीं था क्या. हाँ भाई सुना है कुछ होते हैं पर हमें नहीं पता क्या है.
Yeah.
I don't know what my question is. I'm just confused. But I just want to see that why we don't want, like now you said कि divine या form भी देना जरूरी नहीं है कुछ. क्या nature क्या बोलेंगे उसको, like I don't know.
जी वही मैं कह रही हूँ कि जिस तरह का हमारा स्वभाव है ना, बिलियंस ऑफ अस एंड बिलियंस ऑफ स्वभावास. सो जिस तरह का हमारा स्वभाव है इस जन्म में, फॉर सम ऑफ अस द डिवाइन नेम इटसेल्फ rings a bell, and for some of us we feel even a kind of a repugnance, if one can say, from the word divine. And I'm saying that it does not matter. What matters is the right attitude in life, and even the right attitude would not matter. Why? Because if I have suffered enough, it is almost impossible that I don't get the right attitude after suffering. Because suffering is something which is so beautiful that कि कहीं ना कहीं वो हमको सीधा कर ही देती है. और सीधा करने का ये मतलब नहीं कि डांट डपट रही है, वो हमें अपने ही ट्रू नेचर के करीब ला रही है जो हम भूले बैठे हैं. So whether we take the word or think about the divine, or whether we don't think about the divine, I think it is totally dispensable. Because mother has also, there are stories and stories of people who have lived beautiful lives even not knowing what this divine is. They were so uh, fully responsible for their own lives, taking everything in their stride. So who needs the word divine then? But then there are our natures where we love the word divine, right? So that's completely fine. That is the variety in the Leela. कि कुछ ऐसे लोग होंगे, कुछ ऐसे होंगे और कुछ वैसे होंगे और कुछ उससे भी ज्यादा वियर्ड. एंड दिस इज ऑल अ प्ले, यू नो, एंड देयर इज नो लॉजिक. एज यू सेड कि मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा कि मैं क्या पूछना चाह रही हूँ. आई कैन कंप्लीटली एम्पथाइज बिकॉज देयर इज नो लॉजिक to this, and that is okay. So as you said that your generation of your child, you know, that younger ones who are going through breakups and they seem still fine, and it's beautiful that they are fine. What matters is that you go through challenges and you rise up again, you learn something from the challenges. Whether you believe in the mother, not believe in the mother, that does not make the mother disappear. Mother is the life shakti. So whether I believe in the life Shakti or not believe in the life Shakti, I am driven by the life Shakti. मेरे हाँ या ना कहने से स्पेस एग्जिस्ट करना बंद नहीं कर देगी. Right? It just
So
is
it's knowing your true nature, going towards your true nature, that is
enough. Yeah.
the bottom line.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
And can we define that true nature?
True nature देखो हमने एक बहुत बार we have touched upon these aspects. You know, just being okay. Being okay going through challenges, being okay going through not okay phases. कि सब ठीक है, हो जाएगा, you know, we'll learn through it. So being okay with either okay or not okay would be one's true nature.
Positive, progressive outlook.
Yeah, completely. One can say it in that way. Yeah. Yes. So Bhaskar ji has shared something here. So Bhaskar ji, would you like to read it out for all of us?
Sure. So this felt like sharing a small section from the Hour of God by Sri Aurobindo, which I felt was relevant here with to the discussion, which is, we may not know him as God. We may know him as nature, our higher self, infinity, some ineffable goal. It was so that Buddha approaches him, the rigid Advaitin. He is accessible even to the atheist. To the materialist, he disguises himself in matter. For the nihilist, he waits ambushed in the bosom of annihilation. Sri Aurobindo.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So yeah, it just came to my mind all of a sudden, so I thought I'd
Thank
share
you.
that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yes. Okay, so then we come to detailed surrender. In where more and more, like, you know, we even now we see that we miss so many moments. They are not offered moments, right? So a detailed surrender is that a life is truly, each and every moment is lived for that absolute truth. And when we say the divine or the absolute truth, it actually refers to our own inner truth also. It is not separate from that. That whatever I am doing or acting or saying, it is in alignment with my inner peace and clarity and truth. That is what is divine. And that is what is detailed surrender. So again, in detailed surrender also the aspect of aspiration and rejection would come, because, you know, then I would reject those movements which are not in alignment with my truth, right? Yeah. So here, difficulties of surrender. Yes. It is rare that somebody can surrender entirely to divine's will without having to face one or the other difficulties. So difficulties are kind of, you know, one can just keep them in the pocket. You know, they are just part of the game. There is no need to run away from them or whatever, right? How many efforts and struggles again to give ourselves to surrender once the individuality is constituted. So once we begin to uh, get in almost touch with the truth of the being, we put as if all the, you know, wheels of the bus or the cart is now are in proper alignment. They are following this one truth, so they are in alignment with each other. There's more harmony. And then obviously we see that, oh, I failed again. You know, some past tendency may come, one may even be caught unaware, and then one sees that it was not in alignment. So here the mother says that One just notices that it was not in alignment, and Mother says in one of the prayers, I become sad, I deplore it for a moment, and then I plunge into D. Mother says that the best resolution is to notice that the mistake has been done, not to get into blame game, victimization, I'm not good enough, not at all there. Just plunge into the depths of your being, in the rest, in the peace, stillness, and rise up again from there. So this is what one has to do when these struggles or challenges or mistakes happen. When I say a mistake, it is what I am referring to is that whatever I did or said or whatever I the behavior was, it was not in alignment with my truth. How did I get to know? Because I felt an unease. I did not feel right about it. Right. So that is what I kind of then ignore it and go on, move on. Yeah. And then there are also these opportunities where we get in our lives where we are faced with a challenge or an opportunity where we get to know कि real surrender हुआ भी है कि नहीं, हो भी रहा है कि नहीं. क्योंकि again we see that resistance coming up again in the being कि ये जो हो रहा है वो ठीक नहीं हो रहा. It must be happening my way. So the moment that resistance rises up in the being, I become aware of it, and I say, yes, okay, that is how the situation is, and let's see what is the best that can be done. So again, these circumstances help us to progress on the path of surrender. Yeah. An error always can be used as a springboard. This is something we must all remember, because errors is what we are made of mostly. Errors is what we keep on doing. So an error can always be used as a springboard, and then it can be actually an adventurous journey. Then we'll not be blaming ourselves for those errors. Whilst a virtue is more often a limit, a barrier that must be surmounted. So when we label ourselves that I am full of these good qualities, that is Mother saying that becomes a limit, that becomes a label on myself. And whenever an error happens, some mistake happens, first of all, that grounds me. It brings me back to ground. I'm not up in the air. While virtues can take me up in the air, and then the error can be used to make whatever progress is needed to be made. Yeah. Yes. This is really funny. So here, yeah, the way in which most people surrender is let God manifest His will, but let it be the same as mine. We can almost laugh about it. This is how we do. Just like yes, Preeti, please. So we were talking that people who do not, have the concept of the divine or have the divine at all in their life. Again, that comes into picture here. Again, that when we talk about surrender or even surrender, when we talk about surrender, knowing and being okay with the life as it is surrender. Now, for that, I don't even need to know what divine is. So that is the attitude these people have, who may be doing okay in their lives, but they have no idea what divine is. So I am okay with whatever the life presents me with, and I use every error as a stepping stone. So where is the need for the concept or the name divine at all? Right? That becomes really easy then. Yeah. Yes. This is also nice. I think this is from Acha Collected Works of Mother. When men will understand that the divine knows better than they do, or we can say the life knows better than they do, for people who don't have the word divine in their lives, when the life knows better than they do what is best for them, many of their difficulties will disappear. So whatever has happened has happened. Now it is in front of me. Okay, let's begin from here, the scratch, and that's enough. No need of any other theory or concept. Yeah. So from my side, I think we have really touched on surrender enough. And if rest of the document, I would also like you to go in your own silences. Yeah. And if there is anything, just share. Else we can just call it a day then. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Yashu. Bye bye. Thank you. Thanks, Bhaskar. Bye bye.